What is up, guys? Frosty here today for another Frosty Features. Today, we are finally breaking into the Vigilante team with Daredevil, which is a character I am a huge fan of. You can barely see it in the background here, but I've got a whole little Daredevil situation set up. So I'm excited to talk about it, but there's a lot to talk about. It's been around for a long time. So if you haven't seen one of these before, what this is a comic book background on the tunes that you use in Marvel Strike Force, and I am your guide through the pages past. So let's get into it. Okay, so typically we go off a bloggy scob post. We go off of a Scopely blog post that has a character description. I usually read it and I rate it at the end of the stream. With rework characters, we don't usually get new descriptions, and with Daredevil in particular, all that I could find is I believe that he was a launch character, somebody that's been playing. I have not been playing since launch. I started playing in 2020. But if he wasn't a launch character, let me know in the comments. As far as I could find, he is one of the OGs. At the end of the day, if he wasn't one of the OGs, he was pre-blogs, so there was no story description for me to judge. So there we are. You just get Frosties, baby. Daredevil, the man without fear. Name, Matthew Murdock, the blind lawyer from Hell's Kitchen. First appearance is Daredevil #1 in 1964, back in the 60s. We had an awful lot of #1s being the people's first appearance. Whereas when we have a lot of our characters pre the 60s, most of the time they're showing up in things like Journey into Mystery or Stories of Fear or something like that. So it's pretty cool that it started off with his situation, right? And this is, of course, this feature is in reference to the Vigilante team. He's been, I think he was part of Shadowlands. He was part of, I think he was he was in Defenders. It's been so long. But I'm using the red suit Daredevil here. This is the most popular version of Daredevil. In Marvel Strike Force, Daredevil Modern is our Daredevil that is in Vigilante. And we have him in his yellow suit. Daredevil Modern is what they go off of. He only wears a yellow suit in She-Hulk in modern comics. There's also Daredevil, I believe it's called Daredevil Yellow Suit, which is a comic book arc. But his yellow suit comes from the first few issues ever written, Daredevil #1, he's wearing yellow. So Daredevil Modern is a bit of a misnomer because it actually is the one that it is based off of the one we got in Marvel Strike Force is from She-Hulk, the show. And then the one, the actual yellow suit in the comics is the original suit. So, and if we watch Daredevil Born Again, spoiler alert, he does not wear the yellow suit. So, that's sort of a misnomer, kind of an odd choice for his name. But anyway, Daredevil #1, 1964, been around for a while. Power/abilities. I've actually heard a lot of people debate whether or not Daredevil has powers. He most certainly does. I'm not really sure where people got that. We're gonna talk about two of his different origins today. He's been around for a while. If you were a comic book character born in the 60s, your origin has changed. Not only sliding time scale, but in this situation, he got a writer that was like, I'm more famous than the other writers. I'm gonna change this, and everyone was just like, okay, cool, sounds good. So powers/abilities. We were involved in an accident, and a toxic waste got spilled into our eyes, making us blind. This greatly, exponentially, mega increased our senses, right? So, Daredevil is not only blind. He has super hearing, super smell, super touch, etc. Right? So he can, most specifically, and taste. He can taste things in the air. Things like copper or whatever. He can taste blood and things like that. So he can pick things out from very far distance. I think I read somewhere at minimum it's 75 feet. He can't like rein it in anymore, because a big thing of Daredevil's training as a kid is him trying to hone in those powers so that he can actually like concentrate. Superhuman. His super senses have gave him a form of superhuman ability. he's stronger than the average Joe, yes. His martial arts are way up there because of his training and such, but also his reflexes are fast enough to dodge things like bullets, which are superhuman. So these are very important things to consider when it comes to Daredevil. Not a regular person, but he's not necessarily Thor either. Aliases, the Devil of Hell's Kitchen. He doesn't really have too many that, namely, just different plays on Devil. There's enough there for me not to want to say that he doesn't have other aliases, but ultimately he really it's Daredevil or some form of Devil. And also like every other character that's come out in Marvel Strike Force in the past year, he's also been Captain Universe. Affiliations, Defenders, Avengers, and The Hand, right? So Defenders, as I said before, very prominent character. He's also a big thing in Marvel Knights. The Avengers, everybody, I was a part of the Avengers for a short period of time. I was the 18th Captain America, so retired early, obviously. I took an arrow to the knee. And then he actually takes control of and runs The Hand for a while. The Hand Ninjas, that we no longer really see in Marvel Strike Force. But he did actually take out that entire association at one point, leading him to lead it. But it wouldn't go away, very similar to like Hydra or something like that. Since the situation wouldn't go away, he thought it'd be better if he just ran it himself, and so he did. That's where he was. Background: New York, Hell's Kitchen. So he's born in Hell's Kitchen, born and raised. It is his neighborhood. One of my fondest memories. Like I said, I'm a huge Daredevil fan. When it came out in the 2005 movie, I loved it. When I was a kid, still like it. I'm not gonna lie. Jennifer Garner's Elektra in that movie, 10 out of 10. But Daredevil, one of my favorite things that has to do with Hell's Kitchen, in one of the, I don't remember which one, let me know in the comments if you remember which one. In one of the PlayStation 1 Spider-Man games, if you went too far out of the city, like where in like Brooklyn, if you go too far out, Daredevil literally will show up and he's like, "This is my the part of the city. Get the heck out of here, little teenager." And I used to love that. And anytime he would, I think he showed up in the Spider-Man animated series a couple of times. Always been a big fan of him. But very much, the Defenders specifically are very much region locked heroes. Daredevil being a big one. So not necessarily that they have to be, but they choose to be. Luke Cage likes to stay in Harlem, right? Daredevil likes to stay in Hell's Kitchen. That's his neighborhood. That's his block. That's his area that he patrols, that section of New York City. So very, very important to know. If you're looking for him, go knock over there. Not saying he won't leave. It's kind of like, it's once again like Spider-Man. Spider-Man likes to be in New York, but he also goes into space, you know. Who died? Can't be a superhero, supervillain without somebody dying. And in his case, it was his father. We're going to talk about battling Jack Murdock quite a bit today, so I don't want to get too much into it, but yes, Daredevil's origin, most famously, honestly, he is Daredevil. I think he and Batman are right there, or well, Batman, and it's Batman. So it's Batman and then Matt Murdock about his on the murdered parents bus, the way it works, right? He dons his situation in the same way that Bruce Wayne does. But he, instead of just being extremely psychologically perturbed, he balances it with overcorrecting with religion. So that's another thing. I don't think I actually say it, so I'm gonna throw it out here. Daredevil is a devout Catholic, which it defines his character heavily and makes him such an interesting character. He runs into these issues, so he often, you'll find many comics, even in they haven't really played it in the shows that I remember. I think there's been a little allusions to that, but it's bigger in the 2005 movie, but in the comics, etc. A lot of Daredevil's characters based on his faith, and he ends up in the church quite a bit, talking to priests and such. So very interesting part of his character. Turtles. Here you go. One of the coolest fun facts ever. His the accident that this is in canon for a very famous situation. The accident in which the toxic waste blinds Daredevil supposedly leaked, pulled up from the truck that swerved to miss him and the old man that Matt Murdock was saving. The toxic waste pulled up, went into a sewer, and happened into a puddle where it found this puddle found 4 turtles and a rat, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were born. That is the inspiration. That is actually the inspiration the creators, so from what I understand, that is the inspiration the creators pulled from to start the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, was actually Daredevil's origin story. So it's not technically canon, but that's the head canon of the creators. That's where the ooze came from in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, was Daredevil's accident, which is super cool. Another fun thing about Daredevil is his relationship with Spider-Man. I was just talking about the PlayStation 1 game a minute ago. They are very close friends, but Daredevil also seems to have a lot of animosity towards Spider-Man, and I think it's because Daredevil has and we're gonna talk about this in a second, notable events. Daredevil has this no kill policy, especially if you're watching the Netflix show or Born Again. There's a thing there, right? He's not trying to kill people, but he's not effective at it, right? But he's also not, he's not as tied to it as, say, Batman, that code. But he's not trying to kill people, and he's very dark and dour like Batman. And I think a lot of this, they have it's almost like a love-hate relationship. Very much think like Cable Deadpool situation. That's actually a pretty good example. That's a pretty good comparison, actually, I think. But I think a lot of his animosity to this here's my psychological profile of Matt Murdock. I think that he sees Spider-Man succeeding everywhere he fails, right? Which is funny because Peter Parker's kind of known to be, he's the everyman who fails all over the place, but what he doesn't do is kill a bunch of people, and he also doesn't let having to catch Electro for the 50th time get to him deeply, right? Which, there's obviously story arcs, things like that, but Peter Parker always bounces back, and he always kind of seems like he can deal with it. He figures it out, right? And I think Matt Murdock is envious of that, which is part of the reason why they're friends, because he strives to be that, but also that's kind of where some of that almost animosity comes from. I really enjoy their relationship. Relationships. Jonathan and Maggie Murdock are his parents. Mom left. He was raised by his father, who was a boxer. Mike Murdock was his twin brother that died. Mila Donovan was his ex-wife, which I've read a lot of Daredevil comics. I don't remember her. But in doing research and stuff for this, apparently, he saved her life, and then she made it a point to find him, and ends up finding out that he's Daredevil, and they become a thing. Didn't know. Karen Page, Natasha Romanova, Elektra Nachios are all famous ex-lovers. That is Karen Page in the comics in Marvel Strike Force, that's Oath. Natasha Romanova, that's Black Widow, and Elektra Nachios being Elektra. All loved and such characters right now. Very much looking here at Elektra being part of that vigilante team that we so love in Cosmic Crucible and Raids right now. So yes, those are notable relationships. Matt Murdock is it's always a joke in the comic book community that he's not blind. Actually, they pointed out in some of the shows now too. He's not blind because he always finds pretty women that he's always with. So not that he's a womanizer, but he does have a lot of romantic interest in situations throughout his books. So that's something to just keep in mind. Notable events. So we're going to talk about two things. I'm going to talk about the origin. This is where we get the yellow suit. We're also going to talk about Man Without Fear. And I'll break into that, I guess, when we move on to it. So, in the origin, let's talk about the yellow suit. So, Daredevil #1, he is donning this yellow suit. The yellow suit lasts for 6 issues. Okay, out of the whole Daredevil run, 1964 all the way to whenever they did Daredevil Yellow in like the 20 teens. This dude wore a red suit. So yellow is very short-lived. It is how he started. But the writing started to get a little bit darker, and they thought yellow was a little too flashy, so they went for something a little less vibrant, which was that all red suit that we all know and love from Daredevil. So because these first 6 issues are what they are, I was gonna go through each of them. So starting off, Daredevil issue 1. This is a traditional number 1 of a new character. So this obviously has his origin story. So we have Daredevil donning his yellow costume, and he's tracking down some of the mobsters related to his father's death. He takes a moment to pause, and we see him being raised by his single father, battling Jack Murdock, who is a boxer who kind of goes up and down in his situation, and he ends up getting in wrong with a fixer. So a fixer is a person who picks essentially who's going to win a boxing match, and this is mob enforced, and people bet on the situation. So they inform certain people put certain bets on certain people, and they get lots of money in a very illegal way. So we get to a point where in canon it ended up being battling Jack versus Crusher Creel, which is Carl Creel, who is Absorbing Man. So after this fight, there's a situation where people are it depends on which one you read, even the shows, etc. Something's going on, and Matt Murdock is defending or standing up for his father. His father gets inspired, and he refuses to throw the fight. This angers the Fixer. The Fixer sends people and kills Jack Murdock. Before this, however, a little ways before this, we have Matthew Murdock studying. He's very astute, very good kid, and he is walking home from school one day, and he sees an old man crossing the street, and a truck is barreling with barrels of an unknown substance. And Matt, being the selfless kid that he is, he jumps forward to save the man. In doing so, the truck swerves to avoid him, and he gets spilled with the toxic waste upon him, creating both Daredevil and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Not Marvel, by the way, but still, it's cool, man. It's freaking cool. So, he becomes blind. This is a big setback for them, but he learns to read Braille, etc. He gets accepted into, I believe he's going to Columbia. Yeah, he goes to Columbia. I was debating if that was a retcon, because this is obviously the OG. So if it's a retcon, let me know in the comments. I'm pretty sure originally it's Columbia. But anyway, he starts going to school, and he's studying to become a lawyer because he wants justice, right? And with that, his father ends up being killed by the Fixer's men. This leads him to want to put on the or actually that's actually not what leads him to put on the costume. What he actually, so he's just tracking that he's tracking people as Matt Murdock for the first bit. That's how he's finding the Fixer's men, and in doing so, he runs into this kid named Mickey, and Mickey is from Hell's. Or no. All right, that's later. That's Man Without Fear. Nothing. Lies. I'm lying. Battling Jack Murdock dies. He dons the Daredevil costume, and he starts to hunt these people down. So as he's hunting these people down, he is beating them and then leaving them for the police, right? Very much Spider-Man webbing people up. And so in doing so, he finally makes his way in this episode, in this issue. He makes his way to the Fixer, and upon trying to apprehend the Fixer dies of a heart attack, and Matt starts to struggle with whether or not that's his fault that he died. Did he kill him on accident, right? So from there, that's when so he's just donning the Daredevil costume. That is what it is. That's issue 1. Issue 2, he's a lawyer. So these are going to become much more abbreviated. I just wanted I'm giving you the whole yellow situation before the one run later. So in issue 2, the Thing comes from Fantastic Four, and their lease is up. Some of these legal things that come up in these comics are freaking crazy. It's the main reason why I want to bring them up. So the Thing comes from the Baxter building, and he's like, "Hey, our lease is up. We need somebody to help us renegotiate our thing, and we heard you're a good lawyer. You're gonna help us." And Matthew's like, "Yeah, no problem. I'll help you do that." So like all lawyers do when they're in some sort of renegotiating a lease, he goes to inspect the. I'm sorry, I keep yawning. He goes to inspect the Baxter building, and when he gets there, he sees Electro is breaking into the building, so he suits up as Daredevil to try and stop him. And the whole plot is Electro's, I'm gonna steal Reed Richards' scientific plans, and he's like, "You're not gonna steal the scientific plans. I'm gonna save the day." And so he gets in this big fight with Electro, and he actually wins, which is pretty funny because Electro's a powerful villain. That's all I'm saying. But he wins, and he gets the plans back, and then as Matt Murdock, he replaces the plans. And then he leaves, and he walks out of the building, and the thing comes, and he's like, "Hey, how's our case going?" He's like, "Oh, I haven't been able to start it yet. I was busy." And the thing's like, "Yeah, we're gonna find another lawyer. You suck." And that's how the issue ends. That's issue 2 of 6 with the yellow suit. The third one introduces the Owl, Daredevil number 3. The Owl being a big crime leader with the super mega amazing power of being able to fly a little bit. So anyway, they run into each other because the Owl was arrested for tax fraud, and Foggy does not want to represent the Owl, but good old Matt Murdock wants to, so he can get a little closer and investigate it, right? Because usually the whole thing with Matt Murdock is he only takes the honest people, so he takes the Owl on purpose because he's not honest, and he wants to be able to kind of track him around. And then the case is lost. The case is lost, and so the Owl gets mad, and then he sets up a situation where he's using Matt Murdock as a fall guy. He's gonna have Matt Murdock killed or whatever, so he sends all his people to go kidnap Karen Page, the secretary at Nelson and Murdoch. And Daredevil shows up, and he is like defending her or whatever, and he gets she's all tied up. He unties her, or excuse me, he goes to fight, and then they both get tied up, and it's like one of those situations. "Oh, we'll leave him in the room, boss, it'll be fine." And then he's like, "I untied all the things, Karen, run." And so she runs, and then he ends up in a trap door, ends up in a river, and the Owl's trying to escape via boat. Everybody else left to go inform other people to come help with the fight. So it was just him and the Owl, and they end up in this boat, and he ends up taking the boat over. It's like a little boat he's trying to escape in, and he takes the boat over and stops the Owl. From that's issue 3. Issue 4, this one's pretty crazy. So Kilgrave, the Purple Man, from the Jessica Jones show, you want to talk about a powerful villain. He robs a bank. And though, if you don't know who Kilgrave is, the Purple Man, he's crazy. We don't have him in. It's kind of surprising we don't have him in Marvel Strike Force. He would make a really good character because there's already a precedent for mind control characters. But his power, if you're not familiar with Kilgrave, he says something to you and you immediately have to believe it or do it. So if he's like, "Hey, eat your shoe," your brain immediately just wants to eat your shoe, and nothing will be okay in your whole life until you eat that shoe. So this dude walks in and he goes, "Hey, give me all the money in the bank," and then they start to comply. But a police officer is like, "Hey, you can't do that." And he's like, "I kind of can though," and he's like, "Well, I'm gonna call somebody else because maybe you can, but I'm gonna call somebody else," and that's how he gets arrested. And so he gets arrested, and he kind of plays along for a bit, and he's like, they're like, "Hey, you need a lawyer," and he's like, "I definitely don't need a lawyer. Don't give me one." And they're like, "Well, here's Matt Murdock," and Matt Murdock shows up, and he's like, "I don't know why they sent you. I don't need a lawyer." And Matt's like, "Why?" And the dude looks at the guard that's in the room. Kilgrave looks at him and he goes, "Let me out of here." And the guard's like, "Yes, sir, right away, sir." And he gets up and he's like, "Okay, bye." So he goes from there, and on his way, he's going to the Ritz Hotel. He's going to the Ritz Hotel, and he swings by a gym, and he picks up the whole thing. When he leaves, he takes Karen Page with him, the secretary, which you don't want. Though that's what Jessica Jones is about. Watch that. What happens when women go with Kilgrave? So anyway, a woman was going with Kilgrave, and he was leaving, and on his way to the Ritz Hotel, he stops by a gym, and he convinces all, and by convinces, I mean he walks in there and says, "Everybody, come with me." He gets all the meatheads from the gym to come be his bodyguards at the Ritz Hotel, and he sort of takes it over. Daredevil shows up to save Karen Page, and he gets the sorry, hold on. Oh, that's number 5. Yeah, no, this is the one with Super Cape in the club. Okay, yeah. So he, because he knows what Kilgrave's powers are, he puts a magic. It's not magic in canon. He just happens to have a cape. I think the idea is that it's sound dampening. But in one of his billy clubs, he puts a cape in it, and he has a tape recorder, and he records Kilgrave speaking and admitting the situation, so that he could use that in court. And then he pulls this cape out from the billy club and wraps him up in it so he can't persuade people. And also in this issue, we find out for some reason Daredevil's immune to Kilgrave's powers. Later we find out that people with resolute will can avoid it, but there's outside of that, there's not really a good explanation as to why Matt Murdock is immune to his powers. But it's an interesting little bit anyway. Number 5, he fights a matador who was gored by bulls and decided to become an evil doer. He loses once and then he wins. And finally, number 6, we go up against the Fellowship of Fear, who is Ox, Eel, and Mr. Fear. In short, it looks like they're filming a movie about robbing banks, but turns out like they're actually robbing banks and they escape. And Mr. Fear, Zoltan, their leader, actually owns a wax museum, so they go to their hideout, which is this wax museum, and they end up they get their butts kicked by Daredevil. They get pretty peed off about it, so Mr. Fear puts a wax figurine of Daredevil trying to draw him out, which works. Matt Murdock and Foggy go to see this, and Foggy sees Ox, and he's like, "Hey, that's a bad guy. What are we gonna do?" And Matt's like, "Oh, I don't know, but I gotta go to the bathroom really quick." And he disappears, and he comes back as Daredevil, and a fight ensues. And ultimately, they start kicking the crap out of him. He escapes, and he gets rid of the wax statue and replaces it. So when they go back to try to find him, and he's standing exactly where it was, he gets the drop on him, and he takes him out. That is Daredevil number 6, and that's the last time we see the yellow suit for years and years and years and years. That's the whole thing. But ultimately, that's sort of the basis of his origin, etc. And that is the start of Daredevil, right? So from there, we move on. 20 years later, we have Frank Miller. Frank Miller, his run of Daredevil is the most famous, right? My favorite run of Daredevil is Chip Zdarsky's run. I'm a big fan of Zdarsky. Frank Miller, so he is one of the most prolific comic book artists and writers in history, I would argue. Sin City is his. He has a very distinct art style, disproportionate humans and things. His run of Daredevil included the new origin story he just decided to write called it's his origin story called Man Without Fear. And this is where we get the from the Netflix show, the original Daredevil show that Daredevil Born Again is based off of. This is with the black mask. That is from Man Without Fear. That's the Daredevil we have in that, and it ends with him putting on the yellow suit. So it's essentially the same origin, but way more grittier, and it kind of changes his relationship with his father in a weird way. So the way that this works is from the beginning, Jack. So in the OG time, Jonathan is not involved with the mob. He becomes involved kind of indirectly. In this, he was involved with them the whole time. And he was also pretty abusive to Matt. We find in Man Without Fear that a bully goes to fight Matt, and Matt stands up to the bully and kicks the crap out of him. And this is before he's blind, and Jack beats him senseless, right? So we also see that it's not like, I don't know how, you can't. There's not really a good way to put it out to chill it out. He beats Matt, right, for doing wrong. But Matt still loves him very much. The dad dies still in the same way, and this leads Matt to becoming an orphan, and he ends up going to an orphanage that's run by nuns, and because he's blind, we still have the exact same way he becomes blind and his path, except for we see him in the orphanage, and he's kind of dealing with that loss of his father, and he's getting picked on a lot because of his disability. So a nun takes him to an old man who knows martial arts and is blind, who is Stick, right? So we've talked about, I don't remember which Frosty features, but I went deep into Stick and Rock in another Frosty feature, but for the life of me, I can't think of what it would have been. But regardless, it's back there somewhere. But anyway, so he's trained by Stick in martial arts, etc., and he starts to wear this black garb, etc., doing the same thing he was doing in the first six things. He's chasing down the Fixer, right? The Fixer and the other people involved in his father's death. And through this, he really has no compunction on whether or not he's going to kill people. But he does at one point, and Stick gets mad and leaves. With that, throughout his time doing this, so he's still friends with Foggy, Karen Page, etc. He runs into this kid named Mickey on the streets at Hell's Kitchen. So, before he starts donning the black mask and stuff, he actually goes off, when he goes off to college, he goes to Columbia, and then he works in Boston for a long time, and he goes back to New York on a job, and this lets him go through Hell's Kitchen, seeing where he came from, etc. And this is where he runs into Mickey, and he sees himself in this little girl, and he's like, oh, this could be a nicer place. He sees how dark it's become, etc., and kind of recognizes that they might need him. And then, lo and behold, one of the mobsters that was involved, who's Larkin, something goes wrong on his side. Also, Man Without Fear details Fisk's rise to power, as like becoming Kingpin. Right, he wasn't Kingpin yet at the beginning of the story, and throughout he's rising. So there's a lot of criminal deals going on, kind of in the background, etc. One goes sour, so and Larkin decides to kidnap. He's trying to kind of he's grasping at straws, and he kidnaps Mickey, which leads Daredevil to before he's Daredevil. I mean, he leads Matt to don this dark garb to run and try to save her. And in this process, this is how he decides he's going to become a vigilante. He's trying to save her, whatever, and he ends up rescuing her, and it becomes him and Larkin in this him and Larkin in this. Oh, it's Lark. Sorry, it's just Lark in this room, and Lark's like, "I've got a gun," and Daredevil's like, "You don't want to use that gun on me. It'll be bad." And he goes, one more step towards me, I'm gonna shoot." Daredevil's like, "Fine," and he kept walking, and the dude shot at him, and Daredevil reflected the bullet back at him and killed him. Right, but Frank Miller's Daredevil had way less care if he killed people. So he dropped that guy, and he's like, you know what? That dude's dead, cold and dead on the floor. I should be a superhero. And this is where he dons the yellow suit for the first time in this continuity. It's the same thing, but a lot darker. And like I said, this one, in the original ones, we don't have Wilson Fisk for a while. This details Fisk's rise to power, and it's probably the most popular. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure this is the most famous Daredevil run there is as of this recording date. So it's definitely worth a read. It's a good time. The art is really good. And it's fun watching. I would love this black suit. In Marvel Strike Force. I think it'd be really cool. But with that, we move on to power level. Marvel Strike Force doesn't care about power levels, but here at Frosty Features we do. Now, the way that this works, if you are a multiversal threat, you can end all of reality. Not just your reality, but the entire multiverse can end at your whim. Universal means that you can end your reality, maybe then hop on over to another one and end those, knocking them out one at a time. Cosmic means you have power strong enough to take out something like a planetary body. With enough time and effort being able to take out something like a solar system or a galaxy. Nuclear means you have power equivalent to that of a nuclear bomb, taking out things on the small end of small cities all the way up to a planetary body. Super soldier means that you are beyond all human capability in every way. So super speed, super reflexes, super strength, etc. City means that you are equivalent to super soldier. Also, there's a limit. Being able to level things like brick walls or a city block with enough time. City means that you are a human being style character that is trained to the absolute and utter peak of human ability. Think Olympic athlete level. In Marvel, we have a lot of our CIA agents, secret agents, mercenaries, ninjas, etc. here. And then finally, there's Greg. Greg is the undead Asgardian that is spawned by Hela in Marvel Strike Force and left to his own devices. Greg is not strong at all. He's quite weak, in fact. So due to undead Asgardian physiology, and just because I like to make the argument, we equate Greg to a regular old human being on this channel. So in the event that I, Frosty Osty, the most regular of human beings, happened to be working at a candy store one day because I needed a little bit of extra cash to feed my Snickers addiction. I'm working candy store and I am putting up taffy. I'm sorting colors. I'm making a nice little piece of artwork, maybe detailing Daredevil on the wall because it's Daredevil Day, because this is my world. And as I'm putting this together, Greg comes into the store, and I'm not thinking too much of it because people come into stores to buy things, even though he's already dead. And he comes up to my Laffy Taffy display I'm clearly working on, and he grabs one of the most crucial pieces out of Daredevil's face, and the whole thing falls down. I grab a handful of these Laffy Taffy and punch Greg right in his dead old face. And fight ensues, and Frosty Osty is the victor. This is made offline, so no one can say I'm wrong. But anyway, with that, I, as a regular human being, could theoretically take out Greg. And in the case of Daredevil, we do not have a human being. We have a super soldier in pretty much every way. I said he is superhuman, right? He is above average strength for sure, debatably super strength, but not really, right? But super reflexes, absolutely. There are even comments by some of the creators that Daredevil's senses are equivalent or better than Spider-Man's spider sense, which is essentially a short-term future sight, right? But that is where he's at, right? He is above a regular human being for sure. He could stand up to somebody like a Captain America or whatever. So keep that in mind. So that's where Daredevil lies for me. And according to Scopely, I have nothing to say because there's nothing there, right? We with Scopely, for all three people that watch this, I know all three of you work for Scopely. We have been getting less and less blog posts for characters, especially starting in the Vigilante team. I have started copying them down, etc. And some of the ones coming up don't have them either. So I've had to kind of stretch to find different things to put in here. I mean, let me know in the comments if you like to have those backgrounds on those blog posts. But I, for one, I love them. I obviously make content based off of them. I like the story. It's why I read comics. So when there's characters that come out that don't have one, it kind of sucks. Which Daredevil, he's a rework, so there's an argument to be made there, but he never made it to a blog post anyway, and these don't exist anywhere, right? You can't just look at Marvel Strike Force's version of Daredevil and find a little story about him, right? That's not a thing. So it's a bit that we lack, and I hope I speak for a couple of people to say that we like that. We would like that, we do like that, etc. Give us a little paragraph to see what's different about this Daredevil, right? If Marvel Strike Force has its own lore, because in lore, this Daredevil doesn't actually have a back. But with that is Frosty Features Daredevil. I hope that you all enjoyed it. Please let me know your favorite Daredevil moments in the comments. I'd love to hear from you, or if I got anything wrong, whatever. Please just let me know. I would love to hear it. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe this on YouTube. Also, if you get a second, please think about giving me a follow on Twitch. I would really appreciate it. Links are above and below me and in the description. I hope that you all enjoyed this. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. And most importantly, y'all, stay cool.